The following will describe the do's and don'ts of the weekly calendar planning activity administration. This video should be used in conjunction with the WCPA manual and follows parts 1 and 2 of this training series. It is assumed that you have viewed these materials prior to viewing this video. This video will show incorrect scenarios of WCPA administration for critique and analysis. The 3 scenarios include the initial instructions, performance during the task, and the after-task interview and rating scale. Each scenario will be followed by an opportunity to pause, critique, and discuss. Correct answers are then identified and do's and don'ts are described. Observe the following administration scenario, then pause the video and identify any errors or suggestions you would provide to the examiner. So this activity involves entering this list of appointments into this blank calendar. You can enter the appointments in any order that you'd like, but you have to make sure you enter the entire appointment. You also must mark the entire time that's needed for each appointment. It's more important for you to be accurate than to go too fast, and you also need to remember to follow some rules. So the rules are that once you've entered an appointment into the calendar, you can't cross it out. I also don't want you to schedule any appointments on Wednesday. In addition, you need to keep track of the time and remember to tell me when it's 2:26. I'm also going to ask you some questions during the activity that have nothing to do with it. Just ignore me. Don't answer any of my questions. And finally, the last rule is to remember to tell me when you're finished with the activity. We'll keep the directions and rules right here so you can look at them whenever you'd like. And once we begin, I can't answer any questions from you. Do you have any questions?
No.
Okay, you can begin. Critique the previous performance and identify any errors or suggestions that you would provide to the examiner. Let's review some do's and don'ts to consider when presenting the client with the initial instructions. Remember to set up the assessment in a well-lit environment free of clutter and distractions. Set up the assessment materials according to page 10 of the WCPA manual. Provide a complete and accurate description of the rules and directions. Use the examiner directions for all levels found on page 10 and 11 of the manual. It is very important that the client fully understands the task demands. Fill in the free day and time directly on the instruction sheet. Place examples in front of the client and physically point when providing instructions. Ask the client to restate and review before beginning. Do not rush through the instructions. Speak clearly and slowly to ensure that the client understands the directions and rules. Observe the following scene, pause the video, and then discuss and critique. Do you have any pets?
Yeah, I have 2 dogs. There's Molly, who's 3, and Sam, who's 2. Do you have any pets?
Yes, I have a dog and a cat.
Oh, what are the names?
My dog's name is Duke and my cat's name is Shadow.
I'm allergic to cats.
Oh, that's too bad. You know, it could be easier if you use your finger to help you keep track of where you're putting appointments.
Okay. Man, I made a mistake. What do I do?
Well, remember to look here for the rules, okay?
Why is Sunday and Saturday backward, mixed up? Is this supposed to be like this?
You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. Critique the previous performance and identify any errors or suggestions you would provide to the examiner. The following are errors in administration. The examiner engaged in conversation with the client during the task. The examiner provided cues to the client during the task. The examiner took out their phone and used it during administration, failing to observe important features of client performance. Let's review some do's and don'ts to consider during the task. Record the time the client enters the first appointment and time of completion. Observe and record all observations of performance. It is important to pay close attention to the client for the duration of the task. Remember to ask the 3 distracting questions and record responses. It may be helpful to make notes with information such as question 1 at 2 minutes, question 2 at 5 minutes, and question 3 at 7 minutes as a reminder. It is highly encouraged that the examiner uses the observation sheet. This often helps when scoring entered appointments. Do not answer clients' questions after you have said, "Let's begin." Do not engage in conversation with the client. Answer them minimally. Do not cue them to return to the task. Observe how long it takes the client to return to the task. Observe the following scenario, pause the video, and then critique and make suggestions for the examiner. So how do you go about keeping track of your own errands and appointments?
I keep them in my calendar.
Tell me how you went about doing this task.
Yeah, I just put marks on my sheet to help me keep track.
Okay. Did you encounter any challenges or difficulties while doing this task?
It was a little tricky, but it wasn't difficult.
Would you do anything differently next time?
No. I could just be more careful.
Now I just want to ask you some questions about how you felt about doing this activity. You can answer by choosing agree, somewhat disagree, or disagree. This task was easy for me.
Agree.
I used efficient methods to complete this task.
Agree.
I completed this task accurately.
Somewhat agree.
I kept track of everything I needed to do.
Agree.
Okay, could you estimate about how much time it took you to complete this task?
Maybe about 8 minutes.
10 appointments needed to be entered into the calendar. Estimate the number of appointments that you entered accurately into the calendar.
I think I got about 9, right?
Okay, we're all done. Thank you. Critique the previous performance and identify any errors or suggestions that could be provided to the examiner. The following is an error in administration. The client responds with 1 to 2 word answers and the examiner did not probe further. Let's review some do's and don'ts to consider during the after-task interview. When handwriting difficulties are observed or something on the calendar is not clear, it is helpful to verbally probe after the task. If writing is illegible or difficult to understand, the examiner may ask the client to verbally state what they meant. Probe responses in a non-threatening and comprehensive manner. If possible, instruct the client to fill out the self-rating form themselves. Do not rush through the after-task interview. This provides valuable information about a client's reasoning and perspective. For more information on the WCPA, please visit multicontext.net. Please view the WCPA Part 4 Correct Administration Procedures Training video for a full demonstration of the weekly calendar planning activity. This concludes the WCPA Part 3 Administration Do's and Don'ts Training video. A special thanks to the Mercy College Media Studies program and Professor Louis Grasso for their assistance and support with this project. This was a collaborative effort that involved many different students and professionals, and we appreciate the support we received from the Media Studies program at Mercy College.